silly Caucasian girl likes to play with samurai swords.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Bomb Squad Matinee. I am your host for this evening, Tim M. Sullivan, aka the Snake Charmer, and with me I have...
I am the one who laughs.
I am the hook-nosed banker snake.
And today we are doing another double feature. That's right, we're talking about the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino and the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill, Volumes 1 and 2. And I had put this one on the schedule early last year, thinking it was going to be a movie night and that we were just going to go straight into the two movies because we didn't have time to fuck around, but now that we're doing the matinee thing, I figured I'd give us a little warm-up question, which is going to be just tell us your thoughts on Tarantino as a director. And we'll start with Joe.
Oh, God. So, Quentin Tarantino, I hold him responsible for the repayment of all my student loans for Webster. And I also hold him responsible for my love of cinema, which is why I hold him responsible for paying off my student loans. No, I'm just kidding. That's actually Eli Roth. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino. As I joke, yeah, that man is pretty much... Like, I talk about James Gunn all the goddamn time on this show, and just in my life in general. Like, I hold that man in such high regard. I hold him as, like, the sole reason why I wanted to make movies. He wasn't the sole reason I wanted to make movies for the longest time. That I hold mostly on Quentin Tarantino. I was a young high school lad who watched Reservoir Dogs for the first time as a freshman in high school, and I don't think I've ever been the same since, because that was a formative year for me as someone who wanted to make movies. Social Network came out and kind of planted that idea, and then I discovered who Quentin Tarantino was, and I was just like, okay, no, I want to make movies, and this guy inspired me. I went through that whole guy's filmography. Funnily enough, I think Django Unchained was coming out around that time, and I was turning 17, so it was like, yes, my first R-rated movie! Funnily enough, that did not wind up being my first R-rated movie. My first R-rated movie was actually Looper, and that is a whole-ass story. That is a whole story, but not one for the Kill Bill podcast. Maybe if we talk about Rian Johnson or something, I'll talk about The
Last Jedi!
No! I like that movie, but no. I don't want to deal with the fucking assholes who keep, like, shit-talking that movie. Fuck that. But no, Quentin Tarantino. Back to him. Loved all of his movies growing up. I still hold Reservoir Dogs in my top 2 of all time. It used to be my favorite movie of all time. But then I watched James Gunn's Super, and then everything changed. I mean, I have a poster of it just right over there. And where's the Reservoir Dogs poster? There was one, but my cat destroyed it. Damn it, Val. So instead, here's how much of a fan I am of Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I have a little action figure of Mr. Quentin Tarantino. He used to have a mask on him. He was dressed as like one of the crazy 88s. It's a Kill Bill specific action figure, and you can remove his limbs, like so.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
A little. And right behind here, I don't have the stuff for it, but there's like a little hole where it's like you attach a tube and a little squeeze trigger, where it's like if you squeezed it and you filled it up with liquid, it like shoots like blood out of the holes. Yeah, found this. I don't remember where I found this actually, but I was just like, I saw it and was like, I gotta have this because I love it. I love Quentin Tarantino. So yeah, that's how you make up for your cat destroying a poster of one of your favorite movies of all time. And you also have Fangorias of his movies. Have the Kill Bill one out here for you.
Nice!
So, yeah, that's kind of my ramblings on Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I've always loved that man. Very, very fun man to listen to. Listen whenever he's on a podcast. That man will just talk your ear off, and he's always got something interesting to say. But yeah, and my thoughts on Kill Bill, we'll get to that later.
Hell yeah. I think the cat destroyed your Reservoir Dogs poster because they got it confused with Boondock Saints. Austin.
But before Austin goes, I'm gonna bring it back to my Looper story. Funnily enough, the Boondock Saints is also attached to my story with seeing Looper for the first time. Yeah, but that's another story for another podcast.
All right.
As long as we're being anecdotal, when I was growing up, I was kind of a little laissez-faire about what movie posters I had in my environment. It all started when my older brother, he's like 10 years older than me, got me a Fight Club poster. Proper Fight Club theatrical poster. I put that shit up in my room with so much pride. And eventually, off of like a website, I ordered an actual like Pulp Fiction poster with like a hard backing and everything. And like throughout a lot of my like college years, I had the Pulp Fiction poster around and like all of high school. And then eventually I ditched the Pulp Fiction poster, got like lost in a move or something. And then for a long time I didn't think anything of it. And then I started meeting other guys. Like, I'd go down to like meet a drug dealer in the basement, or I'd be hanging out with some like random stoner or cinephile. And I started to understand what types of guys usually have Pulp Fiction posters hanging up around them. And I just still am doing the calculus of whether or not it was wise for me to have a Pulp Fiction poster up. Pulp Fiction is a movie completely separate from whether or not you've got a Pulp Fiction poster up in your domicile. My main thing I want to say, though, about fucking Tarantino, as far as I can tell, as far as I've dug, there's like 3 levels I've been through with enjoying Tarantino's movies. There's like level 1, where you're like a little teenager, and you like the Royale with cheese. You like lines like, "My name is Buck, and I'm here to fuck." You like that there's blood and guts, Then there's level 2, where you appreciate shit where you're like, oh, he's filming on 70mm. This is like college level, entry level cinephile shit, where you're like, ooh, he uses squibs in Django Unchained, oh, what a man. And eventually, after spending a long time at level 2, you work your way up to level 3, where you are eventually like, what movies is he referencing? Because the whole time you're hearing like, oh, this is a pastiche of other good movies. And you're thinking like, yeah, maybe, like, he took a line or two from the other movies, or maybe it's kind of, like, tonally like some other shit. And then you find out as you watch, like, some obscure, like, 70s movies from Japan, you're like, oh, some of these scenes might be straight up, like, lifted beat for beat from other movies. These are actually a puzzle that I think he wants us to, like, figure out from his days at the Video Archive, watching way more movies than any human being should have the time to watch. And I think he wants us to go back and watch, like, the weird, movies that he used to craft all of his other films. And I'm enjoying that part of being a Tarantino fan. Finding what obscure fucking Tobe Hooper movie My Name is Buck and I'm Here to Fuck is a reference to. Because it's like, it guides you through so much cinema, trying to reverse engineer how Quentin Tarantino made his films. Another good filmmaker to do this with is Wes Anderson. But yeah, more people in general like Tarantino than Wes Anderson. One of my favorite filmmaking experience, or like film experiences from being a moviegoer, was going home after watching Django Unchained opening weekend. I just walked around the subdivision I lived in for like 2 hours. I couldn't go to sleep. I've never felt that juiced in my fucking life. So yeah, I'm thankful for Tarantino and the imprint that he's made on like the cinema community and shit. And I look forward to trying to see all the movies that he wants us to see, apparently. And I was excited for the movie critic. I'm not gonna fucking lie. I was really excited for that.
I'm gonna go on a tangent here. I hope that still gets made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's probably like, whoever takes on the task of directing it, it's probably not going to be as masterful, like, in their hands, unlike if Quentin Tarantino made it, but he wrote a goddamn script for it. I hope it still gets made.
Like,
it's the same...
I can definitely understand where he's coming from. Like, we're all film people. We've all been waist deep in pre-production on a movie and then just said, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
That's why Catholic School, Exorcist, and Double Bill 2 are never happening.
Doesn't this like happen to Guillermo del Toro on like a weekly basis?
Yes.
Oh, God, you could fill a library with the films he almost made. By almost made.
You really could.
Tim, what do you think of Quentin Tarantino, anyhow?
Yeah, I got some thoughts. I do want to go off of the Pulp Fiction poster thing, because I have the Pulp Fiction poster right there. I would move my camera to show it, but I have a whole fucking thing, so I'll throw an image up. If you watched season 1 of the podcast, you probably saw it. But yeah, my thoughts on Tarantino, like, again, we've all been to film school, and like in that freshman year of film school, they would always have that exercise on the first day of class of like, what made you want to get into filmmaking? And I feel like a lot of times the expectation was that the answer was going to be you watched a movie that changed your life, made you want to make movies. Like Joe was talking about this, and Tanner has Swiss Army Man. A lot of people, they have Pulp Fiction, or maybe The Godfather, or Star Wars, or Fight Club, or All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of people have a movie that made them want to make movies, and I didn't necessarily have that in the sense that, like, I didn't have a movie that made me want to make movies, because making movies is just something I've always been sort of fascinated by since early childhood. But I do think that, to some degree, like, my fascination with film viewership can be accredited to, like, watching Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill at age, like, 15 or whatever. Like, those were movies that made me want to find anything that was at all like them, which that sort of goes back to what Austin was talking about. I think what makes Tarantino kind of a special filmmaker is that he's a filmmaker who wants you to watch his films and then go watch other people's films. With Pulp Fiction, you basically want to watch any Scorsese movie or what have you, anything that looks even remotely close to that. And I can tell you for a fact that with Kill Bill, I've watched a lot of the movies that he referenced because of their association with Kill Bill, like Female Prisoners.
Would this happen to be one of them?
Oh, it's Lady Snowblood making a guest
Lady
appearance.
Snowblood.
Yep, Lady Snowblood's one, Lone Wolf and Cub, and Female Prisoner Scorpion, like all those movies. I found, in part at least, due to their association with Kill Bill. And, like, I know he was fucking championing Wong Kar-wai in the 90s. Like, he wanted people to watch these movies, and, like, there's plenty of valid criticisms about Tarantino, but I think the way he champions movies is something that, like, is undeniably important. And I do love what Austin was kind of saying about, like, there's the different layers, like, once you get to the point where you're just, like, trying to find all of the other movies that are connected, like, there's something special about that. Like, he's one of the rare directors who's, like, a giant nerd, but still also, like, cares about making a good movie and not just look at all the references. Like, he's able to do those things together in such a way that I think a lot of directors don't pull off quite as well. Which is very good. And speaking of very good, Kill Bill. We're going to start with Volume 1. Austin, what are your thoughts on Kill Bill Volume 1?
Man, I didn't anticipate the format of this, that we'd talk about them separately. I typed it all out as a big chunk. Wait, are Friedberg and Seltzer just failed Tarantino's? Are they just like the fucking Frankenstein that happens if you fuck up at being Quentin? Alright, apologies, Tim. This is not great. I apologize to you as a host. You can be my second when I commit seppuku after this. But I will be starting off with a sentence about Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 1 does this thing that I really admire. You see lots of Hollywood movies where the protagonists have swords. But you ever notice how they're kind of stingy with the dismemberment? Lots of people get, like, slashed and stabbed, but you rarely see a film where somebody's just fucking dismembering people all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got Kill Bill Volume 1, particularly the showdown with the Crazy 88. Tarantino put so much dismemberment in that one scene that the MPAA threatened to slam this thing with an NC-17, the kiss of death in the market, unless he tinted that shit black and white. A tactic that he actually took from this, like, 1970 Zhang film that's called Vengeance. Go check it out. It has a really cool ending fight. It's this gory fight where it's like one guy versus 100 dudes. And in US markets, they tinted it black once the blood started flying. You know? The Crazy 88 fight is this, like, fucking huge feat of makeup effects. Courtesy of KNB, the team behind Evil Dead 2. I at least know they were heavily involved in this. And I don't know if it beats out the lawnmower scene in Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, Dead Alive when it comes to, like, the sheer level of gore, but it is certainly superior in the way that it is shot and choreographed. There's a scene where Uma Thurman just runs up the fucking railing of the stairs. Oh my god! But of course, we're not just talking about the Crazy 88 fight, we're talking about the whole bloody affair, some assembly required. And I'm gonna let you fuckers take one guess about how I feel regarding Volume 2. Go ahead, take a guess. Do I like it?
Probably not as much as 1.
I think you love it.
That's right, Tim.
Aw.
The first time I sat down to actually watch Volume 2, I'm so sorry, Joe. I walked away from that TV set like somebody shot my dog. Like somebody promised me McDonald's and then gave me Arby's. I couldn't believe how much we downgraded from a movie where the bride slices 88 people into chunks to a movie where the final boss is, like, bloodlessly put down by a Naruto jutsu. Mind you, I was like 11 years old at the time, and probably didn't fully appreciate the heavy topics being discussed, but you gotta admit, Volume 1 set up gruesome expectations that Volume 2 cheerfully subverted over and over. Volume 2 traffics in anticlimaxes. You think there's gonna be a sword fight? No, one-shotted with a shotgun. 2 chicks gonna have a sword fight? Nope, Daryl Hannah gets cheap-shotted in the eye. Did you assume the bride was gonna kill Bill with a sword? You moron! You actual rube! The camera's gonna crane out during the wedding massacre, and you're gonna fucking like it! And for most of my life, this creative choice, part 1 being the action-packed thrill ride, and part 2 being like the story and dialogue-driven conclusion, this made me shit on Volume 2 a lot. Probably more than I should have. But I'm older now. I've seen Jackie Brown. I'm not just watching movies waiting for the gore to happen, like when I was 11. And while I still think that, like, the opening convertible monologue for part 2 is kind of garbage, the rest of the movie does a decent job of getting you wrapped up in the story. That final confrontation with Bill goes on for a good long while if you actually, like, look at the runtime, but I barely even noticed. And shout out to Dave Carradine. In the bonus features, he says this is the best role that he ever got to play, and I'm sort of inclined to believe him. Like, I haven't seen Kung Fu, though. What would I know? One warning, though. If you are like me and try to watch Volume 2 on Netflix, you are shit out of luck. The scenes with Kanye, they don't have subtitles.
I noticed that too.
The whole scene's just fucked. You can't tell what's going on at all. According to Reddit, the Netflix upload of Volume 2 has just been broken like this for at least 5 years. This makes the missing frame in the Hateful Eight Extended Edition look like small potatoes. To wrap it up, though, thank you for your patience. Kill Bill Volume 1, easily one of my favorite action films. It's this pastiche of grindhouse influences from Lady Snowblood, thank you, Joe, to the Chow brothers. And thanks to 3 decades of advances in filmmaking technology, it ends up being even better than the classic movies that it's trying to rip off. Just a remarkable motion picture, with one of the greatest fight scenes in motion picture history. And the sequel's alright, I guess. Back to you, Tim.
Good stuff. All right, Joe, thoughts on Volume 1?
All right, well, I do want to chime in on the Netflix edition of Volume 2 here real quick. This is why physical media is so fucking important.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fucking threw my Lady Snowblood by accident. Anyway, physical media, very important. Fuck Netflix. Anyway, Volume 1. Okay. So yeah, I will solely focus on Volume 1. I'll talk about Volume 2 when we get to it. Because that's actually how I watched this. I don't know how you guys watched it. Because I know there's edits of the whole bloody affair out there, just in the wild. I don't have that luxury, unfortunately, because I just wasn't able to get it on time. I do have Volume 1, Volume 2, thanks to the Tarantino X collection. So I watched it as it was theatrically released. Starting with Volume 1, and I don't know what I can say about Kill Bill Volume 1 that hasn't already been said, because that section of Kill Bill, at the very least, has been talked to death so much that there's very little you can say about it. So I'm gonna try my best and be like, find something. And the one thing that I was able to pull out of my watch from Kill Bill Volume 1 is that I believe that Kill Bill Volume 1 is an absolute masterclass in building to a climax. Because that whole movie, after the Vernita Green fight, you get the whole backstory of the bride. Then you get the whole backstory of O-Ren, and you just kind of learn more and more of what's happening. You see the bride like starting to prepare for this. You know what's at stake. You know what's about to happen. And then you get to the fucking place where the climax happens. And then you see like the whole interior of this building. You know where everything is. Everything is set up. And then the scene happens. That fight at the very end of the movie feels earned in a way that most movies just fail to build up to for their climaxes. And yeah, no, it is a really goddamn cool movie. The fights are fun, the dialogue's fun, that anime sequence that happens in the middle of it is very fun. I'm sure Tim will have a lot more to say about it. I don't anime, so I have nothing other than really cool. Performance is really good. The one performance I noted in the group chat is Sonny Chiba. That man just, like, when he's, like, charismatic as fuck, it is infectious. Like, you're having fun with that man. And then when he gets serious, you know shit's about to happen.
Man just writes Bill on a window, and it's the most dramatic thing you've ever seen.
Damn right. Yeah, he was my standout for performances. Something I actually kind of like about this movie that I also don't hear it doesn't get talked about that often. Just some of the un-Hollywood deaths that do happen in this movie. Specifically Vernita Green, when she gets killed off. Like, when that knife is, like, thrown into her chest, the face that she makes when she dies is just, like... It's not like a Hollywood, like, I am performing like, it just fucking happens. It is very, very un-Hollywood. And then it's like, most un-Hollywood death, and then you just get, like, people have fire hoses in their veins, because they're just, like, squirting out blood like nobody's business. Yeah, that's...
Condoms.
Yup. They use condoms. But yeah, that's really all that I can pull from my viewing experience of Volume 1. I might have a little bit more to say about Volume 2 coming up, but I don't know. Either way, movie really fucking good. Solid action movie. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah. To go off of what you said at the beginning there, physical media is important. And that's why they should release the director's cut of Volume 1 in America, you fucking cowards.
I think that's a thing because of Weinstein, though. I think that's part of the reason why we don't get it. I know, fuck Weinstein. That's why we're not getting it.
First Dogma, now this. God damn it.
Fuck.
His legacy lives on. His legacy being a ball of shit.
Fucking
we'll have more to say about Weinstein later too.
Yeah.
But yeah, my thoughts on Volume 1. What a picture. I loved all the killing.
lot of killing.
A lot of killing. Yeah, it's a great film. It's my favorite Tarantino. I will get my one gripe, I guess, out of the way, which is that, like, watching the Buck scene as an adult, it hits different than when you watch it as a teenager. Doesn't sit quite as well. It's one of the, like, we kind of talked about this on the Cowboy Bebop movie podcast. Like, sometimes you watch something as a teenager and, you know, it doesn't really faze you, and then as an adult you're like, it's kind of gross.
I think that's the one thing in this movie that could have just been cut out.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have missed anything.
But that being said, though, while we're here, we can't go this podcast without mentioning the TV edit that's so funny. Doug Benson did a whole stand-up bit on it. Because in the TV version, the pussy wagon is the party wagon. And Buck says, "My name is Buck, and I'm here to party." It's so absurd and good. It's right up there with "This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps." Just, mwah. But yeah, other than that, I love this movie, and like, I was watching the making of documentaries. Like, they're just kind of promotional fluff for the most part, but there's some interesting nuggets in there. Like, I loved kind of Tarantino describing Kill Bill as a whole as sort of this just homage to not just samurai films, but just of grindhouse from the 70s as a whole. Like, you got the samurai, yakuza, spaghetti western, like a little bit of giallo, just a little bit of everything in there, which is fancy. It's a fancy feast. But yeah, this movie, there's a lot to love about it. We've all mentioned the fighting is great. Sonny Chiba is great. Uma Thurman just acts the hell out of this movie. Like, I was mentioning how, like, these movies were kind of sort of like what made me interested in movies at an early age, and like, I think her performance specifically, like, was really fascinating to me. Like, in this movie, you have that scene where she wakes up and she realizes she doesn't have the baby anymore, and like, you immediately just see everything that's going on in her mind just from her performance in that scene, and I think it's really powerful. And yeah, the fight with the Crazy 88, incredible. The fight with Oren, I think, is like the best, like, one-on-one fight, bar none, in these movies. It's great. The anime sequence, as Joe alluded to, is very good. It was made by Production IG, who you would know from such anime productions as Ghost in the Shell, or if you're a Toonami fan like me, IGPX. But
or if you're like a non-anime fan like me, the Animatrix.
Yeah, I think they did some stuff for Animatrix too.
They did 2 shorts.
Yeah. And I read this in the trivia. Apparently, David Carradine says that the man who kills Oren's father in that scene is a young Bill.
Young Bill. It turns out it was just a different guy named Bill who happened to be young at the time.
There we go.
I rewatched that after seeing that quote, and I was just like, no fucking way. No, this is just some random Yakuza sleaze bag. They were not going for that. Carradine was full of shit.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
in either case, it's a great scene, which is also a little bit longer in the director's cut. There's like just a little bit more gore in that one, but the director's cut is mostly known for the colorized Crazy 88 fight, which also has a couple like extra kills, and they introduced the kid a little bit earlier in the director's cut, which I think it's funnier when they don't set him up, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the joke gets better when it's just like there's just a kid there.
Yeah, because the first time she runs into him in the Japanese director's cut version, she's like going at everybody, and then he's just standing there. And if I'm remembering right, he doesn't even have a sword. It's like way funnier the second time. When like the second encounter is much funnier. Altogether.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to take out of the movie. I hope when he releases the whole bloody affair on 4K UHD, he maybe edits it just a little bit more. Just takes that out, you know.
Yeah. Which, speaking of the whole bloody affair, Joe alluded to how there are fan edits, and me and Joe have a common acquaintance, a man named Mark, who Joe currently works for, and I used to work for at a completely different job. And he like hooked me up with a website to get a Blu-ray copy of that fan edit, and like I watched it in its entirety like in one go for the first time yesterday, and like I think it works better as two movies, honestly. Like I kind of want to see the extra stuff that apparently was put in to like the actual whole bloody affair. Like apparently the anime scene's longer. And there's some other stuff, I guess. So like I'm curious if we ever get to see the real version, but as it stands, I think it works better as the two separate movies. But movie 1, volume 1 is quite good. And now we're gonna get into part 2, volume 2, whatever it's called. Joe, go.
All right, so I said this in my Letterboxd review of Kill Bill Volume 1. I made a comparison. If Kill Bill Volume 1 is the equivalent of Mad Max Fury Road, I would say Volume 2 is the equivalent of Furiosa.
Nice.
We're topical, and we're gonna be talking about that soon, and I'm fucking hyped for it. Fucking Furiosa rules. Go see it. Early spoiler review from me. But yeah, and what I mean by that is like it's not to say that it's not action packed. Furiosa is definitely 100% more action packed than Kill Bill Volume 2 is. But compared to, I'm just going to keep using Furiosa and Mad Max as an example right now. It's like comparing those two together, it's like Furiosa is by far and away the more driven movie than Mad Max Fury Road is. Yeah, pun intended, driven, haha. And that's kind of that's almost 100% what Kill Bill Volume 2 is. Like, you get character stuff in Volume 1, and it's all really well done in Tarantino's usual fashion, but he really leans heavy into the character stuff in Volume 2. And I think that is where it is at its strongest, personally. I really like all the character stuff. I like just kind of understanding like how these people's minds work and just kind of how they interact with the world around them. Hot take, the Pai Mei stuff, I do like it. I'm not as hot on it, though. Though it does set up a very essential thing that comes back at the very end of the movie. It's another good movie that has setups and payoffs. David Carradine is absolutely fire in this movie. He's fire when you see him in Volume 1, but here he especially gets to shine, mostly because you get to see his face.
Hear that flute?
He plays that flute like no man's business. And man, oh man, that fucking monologue he gives about Clark Kent that Austin always uses whenever I talk about how I used to grow up reading comic books, or at least how we used to use it back when we edited
Quite
these
keen
fucking things.
on comic books.
Quite keen on comic books, especially the ones about superheroes. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think it might be a personal thing because I do like the character-driven movies a little bit more often than the solely action-heavy movies. I think that's just kind of been a thing that I've noticed as I've gotten older. Funnily, it's like, gonna use a random ass example where it's like, I think Deadpool 2 is the stronger movie because of the character work, like shit like that. I think it's much stronger than in the first movie. It's the same thing with Kill Bill Volume 2. I like character pieces. Kill Bill Volume 2 is a character piece. Roger Ebert was right to give this movie his 4 out of 4 stars. This movie fucking rules. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah. Austin disagrees.
Sorry, Austin.
Do you have anything more to add? I know you talked about your thoughts on Volume 2, but if you got anything else, feel free.
I guess, now that I've grown up, and, because this was one thing, you spoke about that shot where Uma Thurman in Volume 1 wakes up and realizes that she's gone, baby gone. And I remember as a kid, this is gonna sound really strange, like, as a teenager, the whole part about her, like, losing a baby, like, did not faze me emotionally. It just kind of went right over me like a wave. Like, I didn't consider it at all. And there was a point when I was older where that shot finally stuck out to me, and I was like, oh yeah! It would suck to get shot in the head and your baby's gone. Right! And
A little bit.
so there were like certain story elements that just didn't emotionally resonate with me when I was younger. I was mostly just wanting to see people get chopped up. And so now that I'm older and giving like Kill Bill Volume 2 an actual fair shot, I totally get why people like it. Because I think reading back on shit at the time, most people liked Volume 2 more than Volume 1. Or at least that's referenced in like a Charlie Rose interview, certain articles people wrote. Like, I'm in the minority thinking Volume 1 is better. At least if we were in 2005. But fucking, like, there are scenes in Volume 2 where I go, I'm not sure I'm into this. Like Joe was just saying, the Pai Mei stuff. I get it. I get why it's there. It leads up to the awesome exploding heart shit, some of the L Driver stuff, right? But there's points where I'm watching that sequence where I'm like, I don't know if this is fully fucking working for me. Or the convertible monologue in the beginning. Whereas Volume 1 is like a perfect album. You know, it's the Justice Cross album. It's To Pimp a Butterfly. There's not a single fucking bad thing in Volume 1. Whereas in Volume 2, everything's equally good. It's just the fact that it has blemishes is what sets it beneath in my book. And I'm okay if this makes me sound fucking crazy. I may just not be giving the movie a fair shot, even though I'm like 29 now. I might have some stupid mental hang-up about Volume 2, and it's permanently colored my, like, impression of the film. But that's kind of explaining my thought process a little bit, to add on. Back to you, Tim.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, good stuff. I do think that, like, my opinion on this one has gone down a little bit, since childhood. Like, I do still love both. I think both are great. But I think one still resonates with me more than two. And like, it's sort of that, you know, that meme where it's like, 3 different stages of a person's life where, like, dumb baby phase, they'll say something, and then later on in life they'll have like a more nuanced opinion on the other side, and then in phase 3 they go back to the original opinion, but they're smart now. That's sort of my take on Volume 2. It's like, as a child, I'm like, Volume 2 is a little boring, and then later in life I'm like, Volume 2 is actually much more interesting, character driven than adult. Volume 2 is a little boring. But I do love it. I do love it. It's just not the same as Volume 1. It's a very different presentation, but I'll talk about what I do love about it. Like, I do like the Pai Mei stuff. Like, I think it's fun. I was peeved watching it on Netflix the other day, just being like, okay, I guess I'll just have to go off memory. I know he says some slurs and talks about Americans being stupid. I'll just fill in the gaps.
I was stuck on a treadmill when that happened. I, like, literally could not fix the situation. I was just like, well, I guess I'll die. That fucking sucks so bad. Who is responsible for this?
The bastards. Speaking of bastards, Harvey Weinstein.
We gotta talk about it.
You want to know who's responsible for this movie having an anticlimactic conclusion? Harvey fucking Weinstein. Because the battle that Bill alluded to, the sword fight on the beach in the moonlight, that was supposed to happen, but since they were like going overtime, Harvey was like, no, we need to cut that. So we can trace it back to Mr. Weinstein.
I thought you were going to bring up a different Harvey Weinstein fluke from this production, because we found out about this like 5 years ago. The car crash. Have either of you heard about this?
Yes.
Yeah, that I was also gonna bring up, the car thing, which
fucking car crash that specifically the Soska sisters I know blame Tarantino for. But that was like a whole ass thing. Everyone was blaming Tarantino, and Uma Thurman had to come out and be like, no, it's not his fault. He wouldn't have had me do it if like he didn't think it was safe. Tarantino innocent. But yeah, they're that fucking actually watching the footage of that car wreck is what the fuck were they doing?
Like, reading about it doesn't give it justice. I see why Uma Thurman wanted the footage released. So, a story behind this footage really fast is, there was, like, a scene where Uma Thurman had to drive a car on a dirt road just straight. But when you read about that, you're, like, thinking, like, a desert and, like, a nice kind of paved road. But it's kind of, I think, like, when she's traveling up to Esteban's place, like, it's actually a fucked up dirt road, and driving on it straight would be really hard. And everyone was like, oh, we're just going to treat it like a regular scene. Drive a car straight, lady. And the stunt coordinator wasn't even there that day. That's how much they did not think this was a stunt. And then there was an unexpected turn in the road, and Uma Thurman ate shit. She got like a concussion and knee damage, and when you read about it, it doesn't sound that bad. But Uma Thurman was like, that was bad. So she went to Harvey Weinstein and was like, can I have the footage to release this so people know how bad it was? And he was like, only if you sign papers that say that we're not legally liable for that fucked up thing that happened. Fuck you. And many years later, like when Weinstein's getting Me Too'd, Tarantino was just like, hey, sorry, I know this fucked up our relationship for a long time. Here's the footage. And so now you can go on YouTube and watch it. And it gives you better context on what happened.
Yeah, I'll admit I didn't watch the footage. I just like read a few like sentences about it, and from what I was reading, it sounded like it was like mostly being blamed on Tarantino. Like she was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Can I get my stunt double to drive this instead? And they were just like, it doesn't look like a big deal. It's not a stunt. So yeah, that's a whole lot of not great. That whole situation. And again, Harvey Weinstein was a I'm rot in hell before he dies. Like the Mario commercial. You go to hell before you die.
I'm laughing because I'm also remembering they dragged Diane Kruger into that whole thing. Where they were like, yeah, but he literally actually strangled Diane Kruger on Inglourious Bastards. And then Diane Kruger was just like, I have no involvement in this. What are you talking about? I'm fine.
But yeah.
It's like the Isabella Rossellini, Roger Ebert thing that happened where he's like, he's exploiting these actresses, David Lynch's, and then Isabella Rossellini's like, what are you fucking talking about? I'm fine.
Blue Velvet did nothing wrong.
But yeah, Harvey is a bastard for that. He's also a bastard for cutting the final battle scene. Like, obviously, you know, when the fucking schedule is going to Apocalypse Now territory, like, you got to make some sacrifices, but not the final confrontation.
I can't believe they
Harvey
filmed
Bastard.
like extra scenes with Michael Jai White, but couldn't get the finale on the beach filmed. That sucks.
That one scene, the Michael Jai White thing, is so bad.
It's like a YouTube poop of Kill Bill. Just the cheesiest sound effects.
Like, the whole Bloody Affair fan edit threw that back in there, and it's so bad.
And he does a fake Australian accent. It's so baffling. Yeah, go.
Why Black Dynamite? Why?
But there is a lot of stuff to like about this film. Kind of going back to what Austin brought back up about my statements on the first one. Another Uma Thurman scene that like was really fascinating to me, probably the most fascinating to me, was right after she sees BB for the first time, and it just zooms in on her face, and like you have to think of all of the thoughts and emotions going on in her mind at that time. Like, I was watching that at age 15 just being like, holy shit, that's heavy. Like, as the scene goes on, like, she's happy that her baby's alive, she's shocked, she's sad at all of the time she's missed, she's even more furious at Bill than she was already. It's a lot. But yeah, overall, these are some solid pictures, and we still got a little time to do some general discussion after a quick ad break, so we'll see you in a bit. Welcome back from that ad break. Now we got another ad. That right there, that's a movie palette for the film Mandy. You can get a movie palette of your own for any film that you want. You can probably get one for Pulp Fiction, Volume 1 or 2. If you got a lot of money to spare, you could get both, put them together, and make like a big movie palette. You can get,
If you're a freak like me, get one for Death Proof.
There we go. You can, even if they don't have the movie you want, you can pay a little extra, have it custom made if you go to moviepalette.com. And before you hit checkout, enter the code SQUAD15 to get 15% off your order. Now back to the show. We're gonna get into some general discussion, and I'm gonna start with a fun one. At least in Volume 1, I think in both. Each shot had a take where the actors would say "Hi, Sally" to address the editor.
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Sally.
Yeah, "Hi, Sally." Addressing the editor, Sally Menke. And on IMDb, it said something to the effect of, whether or not she appreciated this is not known, which I thought was a very funny sentence. But speaking from personal experience as an editor who has had this happen, I have mixed feelings about it. If I'm just like editing a fun thing with friends or a film, and somebody's like, "Hey Tim, what's up, Tim?" Like, hey, it's the guy. But if I'm editing a client video and they say like, "Hey, thanks, Tim," I'm like, "Ugh, why are you perceiving me?"
They wasted so much 3perf doing that. It just hurts because they did it on actual film.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got so fucked up trying to like research Kill Bill. This is unrelated, but here's a list of movies that don't have director's commentaries. Children of Men, Schindler's List, Magnolia, Interstellar, No Country for Old Men, and Kill Bill. I was so fucking mad that like I can't just like pop in a fucking Blu-ray and listen to Tarantino talk about these movies for 4 hours. That would be such a good commentary, right? Right?
Yeah.
Best thing I got.
There's a lot to say.
Best thing I got is a fucking interview with Charlie Rose that goes on for like 50 minutes. By the way, Tarantino didn't have a girlfriend when he was talking about how he didn't have a girlfriend by the time he was like 25, which I thought was kind of fucking funny. He called himself the king of first dates. I did some digging, and the closest thing I could find on a confirmed early Tarantino love affair was when he dated Margaret Cho when he was 29. And I think that's how he got a cameo role on the ABC sitcom All-American Girl. But yeah, let that be a lesson to the homies out there. You can be Quentin fucking Tarantino and not make it with the ladies until you're almost 30.
There we go.
Wisdom. Another thing from that Charlie Rose interview. This aired on like April 22nd, 2004. One note that I thought was funny was that he abandoned a lot of the conventional screenplay formatting conventions and just wrote the Kill Bill screenplay, kind of like a huge novel. We've heard about him doing this later, like fucking around when writing a screenplay. Like the one we've got available online is like 240 pages for both volumes. But he makes this crack about how it was so cool having an unorthodox novelistic screenplay before production started. But then when it came around time to actually making the fucking movie, he said it was like adapting Kill Bill from the book Kill Bill, written by Quentin Tarantino. Live on set. You played yourself, Quentin. Write a screenplay like a normal person. That goes for you too, Chris Nolan.
Yeah. We are fucking.
That flute you mentioned earlier, that's an actual flute from the Kung Fu show.
Yep.
That does not surprise me.
Oh yeah. And you guys like communism?
Yes, comrade.
Dig this. This movie was partially made because communism happened. The Crazy 88 fight, the one we've been hyping up, was filmed at the now closed Beijing Film Studio. And according to Tarantino, the studio was like created as a pet project for Chairman Mao's wife. Like they were slicing dudes up in the old school Mao studio in China. Think about that.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I gotta say this one for Tanner. So a couple years ago, after Everything Everywhere All at Once came out, Michelle Yeoh was doing an interview, and apparently she brought up that one time she asked Quentin Tarantino, why didn't you put me in Kill Bill? And his response was, you think anyone would believe Uma Thurman could kick your ass?
Ooh, that's smooth!
Yeah.
That is definitely like he was older than 29 when he said that. That fucking guy. Ooh, the Riz. Mercy. What is it? Hotari Hanzo. Anyone watch the show Shogun on FX?
No, sorry.
Someday.
It's about the Tokugawa shogunate, but they changed the name of Tokugawa. And one of like the famous samurai who helped the shogunate get formed, or was around at that time doing shit for the Tokugawa guy, was Hattori Hanzo, right? But there's the Hattori Hanzo history with Tarantino is not related to the history of Japan. This isn't the first time Sonny Chiba has played the famed samurai Hattori Hanzo. There was this old show called Shadow Warriors that Quentin Tarantino used to watch on the Japanese TV channel in LA, where Chiba played Hattori Hanzo. The joke is that with each new season of Shadow Warriors, Sonny Chiba would return to play the next descendant of Hattori Hanzo. Yep. So in this movie, this dude is Hattori Hanzo the 14th, who I guess is technically the father of the guy from season 5 of Shadow Warriors, Hattori Hanzo the 15th. Wouldn't that be funny? A show where the dude just keeps playing his own son like a Kingo thing? That rules.
So when I saw the making of documentary, he said Hattori Hanzo the 100th.
Oh fuck!
Which would be nuts.
God, I read the 14th in a different article. Holy shit!
Who's right?
Imagine having genes that strong. No daughters across 100 generations.
So in the recent Knuckles TV show, there is a reference to Hattori Hanzo having made someone's sword, and it is also that the show also references ESPN 8 The Ocho, So we have this giant cinematic universe of Shadow Warriors, Kill Bill, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
God damn, they're making those movies right. That fucking rules.
All they need to do now is find a way to tie Pokemon into it, and then through that...
And Home Alone!
I was gonna say Home Alone is the fucking Angels with Filthy Souls is a movie in the Pokemon universe, which technically means Home Alone is canon to Detective Pikachu.
Nice.
And they're probably gonna pull it together for the fucking Super Smash Brothers movie. It's all connected.
That would be a good, like, post-Marvel move. Is if a filmmaker just made a universe where all the fiction exists in the universe, but they're all real. Like, instead of tying together these movies about superheroes, you make a movie where, like, Die Hard and Shawshank Redemption happen for real in the same universe. That would be such a
This
bullshit
is the
movie.
ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Man, I forgot Lemon Demon already did it. Thank you, Tim. That's true.
You know, I may no longer, like, really want to make movies, but secretly, quietly, in the privacy of my own home, I have been trying to write an adaptation of the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny in film format.
Hell yeah.
It is not an easy task, to say the least.
It's gonna be a copyright nightmare.
Oh, it's
Good
a
luck with that one.
it's a copyright nightmare, but I have no intention of making it, so I'm making it for fun. And
Yeah.
yet I'm trying to be like, okay, we got to make this a serious ass movie. How do I do this?
What's that movie Tanner likes with Mr. Rogers in it? What a beautiful
Day in the neighborhood.
Do that as a double feature
Tom
with
Hanks.
Joe's fucking movie.
Just get Tom Hanks in the serious Ultimate Showdown movie.
All right, folks, we're going to show you who the real Mr. Rogers was, and then up second, we're going to show you who the real Mr. Rogers was. God damn it. This is like a metrics thing. I don't know how funny this is, but the Crazy 88 fight took 8 weeks to film. 8 fucking weeks. 2 fucking months worth of filming time. Dig this. Ooh, what were you going to say, Tim?
I was just gonna say, that scene took longer than all of Pulp Fiction.
Okay, I had to do some digging. Pulp Fiction took 10 weeks. I saw that was a quote somewhere, and I was like, if this is true, that's fucking hilarious. Pulp Fiction took 71 days to film. But get this, he filmed the whole Crazy 88 fight in almost the time it took to make Pulp Fiction. Holy fuck!
Yeah.
That's still insane!
That's still crazy. That one scene just flexing on the entirety of Pulp Fiction.
God, can you imagine showing up to that set for 8 fucking weeks? It's just like, oops, somebody moved one of the limbs out of place. Check the limb continuity. Fuck. I love that wide at the end where they're all just like eating shit on the ground.
Yeah. I also, like, I saw, like, on the IMDb trivia, it was like, kill count 95, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's necessarily accurate. I feel like they just put 88 and then plus whatever fucking number of other kills. But number one, they even say, like, there aren't actually 88 of them. And number two, like, how can you differentiate the dead and the maimed? It's just too much going on in that scene.
Oh, the kill count guys have to be medical experts now.
Yeah.
Serious debate.
To be a fucking surgeon with that shotgun.
Oh, speaking of lines, the My Name is Buck and I'm Here to Fuck line, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's a reference to a 1976 Tobe Hooper evil alligator movie called Eaten Alive.
Yep.
Opens with a character going, my name is Buck and I'm raring to fuck. This is unrelated, but Eaten Alive was released in Japan under the title Devil's Swamp, which is also how people from Louisiana refer to their asses in summertime. Fucking. I gotta go watch that. Tobe Hooper's good at making horror movies.
He is.
Yeah.
He's good at making horror movies that feel like they were made by the people that are in the movies. a la Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He's also good at making horror movies that get accredited to Steven Spielberg, like Poltergeist.
Wait, he did it twice? He did it more than once?
Yeah.
Can't keep getting away with it.
Oh, you know that brothel she goes to, the Esteban scene? Also a scene
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about in Volume 2. What if I told you those were real whores? What if I told you those were actual prostitutes?
That doesn't shock me.
Sex work is work.
Yeah, sex work is real work. But yeah, according to the book The Domestication of Dissent by Russell T. McCutcheon, that was an actual Mexican whorehouse located oddly close to an actual Mexican pig slaughterhouse. Apparently the location scout guys, when they got there, they were like, sweet, this is what we're looking for, and had to spend hours cleaning up like pig shit off the floor before anyone else from production could come and see the place. They're like, perfect, let's get this presentable, oh fuck. But yeah, real whores. Real prostitutes.
The pussy died, eh?
His accent's good, I just don't like the scene.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve Jobs' daughter is in this. It's her first appearance on film. This is Lisa Brennan Jobs' first film. The first appearance of Paula Haney Jardine, who has a very distinctive look about them. You've probably seen them most recently in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Their credited role in that is hippie drug dealer.
Oh yeah, she's the fucking girl that gives Brad Pitt the acid that he takes at the end of the movie. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a fun question. How many of the songs in this have been ruined by pop culture? How many?
Have been what by
Like
pop
the-
culture?
Ruined by pop culture.
The one that comes to mind is the tune that Daryl Hannah's whistling got
Twisted
remixed in
Nerve.
Showbill.
Yeah, that has been bastardized into oblivion that people incorrectly label it as, oh, it's that song from Kill Bill. No! The title of the song is the title of the movie that it's from, damn it! Ah.
Speaking of Daryl Hannah, apparently Daryl Hannah and Uma Thurman did not like each other.
Really?
Like they requested to be put in separate trailers, and in Volume 2 when after Volume 2 when there was an award for a fight scene, Daryl Hannah was there, Uma Thurman was not. Even though Uma Thurman came for the award for the first movie. Yeah, they apparently hated each other, which it's always kind of interesting when characters who hate each other in the movie actually hate each other in real life. Another one of those is in Superbad. Jonah Hill fucking hated the kid who played McLovin, so everything he's saying is that's just how he feels inside.
And
I
now,
was gonna say, it just makes the performance more authentic.
Yeah.
now that we're older, I might actually side with McLovin. You ever see This Is the End, the old comedy film, and wonder, is Jonah Hill maybe kind of a bastard in real life? We have a little more evidence now.
Right.
Hey, you better not be surfing around those other dudes, surfboard wife. I know you're a surfer, but I don't like you surfing around those other dudes. It's a little...
God, you said the older that you get, you side more with McLovin. I've always sided with McLovin. Have you seen Superbad recently? That movie's great, but even when I was a teenager, Jonah Hill was kind of a bastard in that movie.
Just a smidge.
Jonah Hill, or what is it? Joe Vrenick with the excellent instincts. Mine got the J names crossed. There was a silly thing that happened, and I expect it made Harvey Weinstein shit angrily. So this was actually the first Oscar screener to get sent out in the mail, several weeks before all the other Oscar screeners that year. They did this by foregoing the watermarking process. How Weinstein has all those stories about Oscar season fuckery? This was, Killville Volume 2 actually had a bit of Oscar season fuckery. They were like, we won't put the copyright watermark on these. I want these here almost a month before all the other DVDs get sent out. So people in the Academy got a copy of Volume 2 way before everything else. This movie was nominated for 0 Oscars.
Bastards.
Fuck you, Harvey. I mean,
Fuck you, Harvey.
it would be cool to give Tarantino a statue, but, at least it's like one time in the Weinstein Oscar campaign machine where he just got fucking punched,
Like, I'm never gonna expect a genre movie to, like, win Oscars, but, like, this is at least worthy of best choreography. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
By far.
Oh, you asked which songs have been ruined by pop culture. Before the Crazy 88 fight, there's that one song where they're just going woohoo, woohoo. What's that song? What's the title?
Yeah.
But
it's
Woohoo.
called Woohoo.
fuck. Yeah, that song, if I'm remembering right, or maybe my brain's just lying. Wasn't that used in like 100 commercials when we were growing up?
That was like a phone commercial.
It was Vonage. I had to look it up when I was watching the movie. It was the jingle for Vonage. Other companies have used it. Same thing with I think it's like Nobody But Me that plays when she's like on the floor, just like spinning around, chopping off limbs. Like that's been used to oblivion, and I'm just like, it's just commercial jingles. It's commercial jingles at this point.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the story about the 5, 6, 7, 8s who did Woohoo was that like he was like trying to figure out what music to use for the movie, and he went into a record store and heard Woohoo playing and or heard their music playing. And was like, what is this? I need this. I think he like bought that physical copy because like they didn't have like extra copies. They're just like, give me yours.
That rules.
He's like, I need this.
Oh my god.
I do have a conspiracy theory because I'm just remembering. Oh yeah, the band's in the actual movie, and like we all know. We all know the Tarantino trademark.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I want to bring up a conspiracy theory I have about that. Because it's probably one of the few times I'll ever be able to bring it up, because there's only so many Tarantino movies. So, I am not 100% convinced that the foot thing is a Tarantino fetish. I'm actually convinced that it's a Weinstein mandate. And here, I'm gonna hear me out. Part of this is based off of a story Kevin Smith told about making Clerks 2, because that was produced by the Weinstein Company. And one of the mandates that Harvey Weinstein, according to Kevin Smith, had for specifically the dance sequence that happens in Clerks 2, he demanded that they get more shots of Rosario Dawson's feet. Like he was very keen on having shots of Rosario Dawson's feet during the dance sequence. So that's the evidence I want to put into court. The other evidence, I'm gonna go to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's most footy movie yet. But there's a specific detail I want to mention about the feet in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They're all dirty feet. Is this a comment about Harvey Weinstein? Or is this Tarantino fucking with the audience?
I took the dirty feet to just be like, oh, he's getting real kinky with it now. But I don't know. I can't fully be like, I don't think it's him after having seen From Dusk Till Dawn. But
that's another Weinstein movie. That was pretty.
Oh my god! What if we just thought it was Quentin this whole time, but it was his producer? That would be so fucked. Imagine the whole public thinking you're a foot fetishist. On accident.
And keep in mind.
And then he made Quentin Tarantino write himself getting a beer footed into his mouth. Just like, you're gonna make people think this.
Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, too, about the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood theory that I have. That is the first movie that Quentin Tarantino has made that's not produced by Harvey Weinstein. Or at least in a very, very long-ass time. Because the last movie that was produced by the Weinstein Company that Tarantino made was The Hateful Eight. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was his next movie after that. So, is it a stretch to say that it might be a Weinstein thing? I don't know. But those are my facts. This has been the Conspiracy Hour with Fox Mulder. Tune into Dana Scully, where she completely derails my theory. I had to get an X-Files reference in there somewhere.
There we go. Yeah, I guess we'll see whenever he makes whatever movie number 10 is.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, if it continues on into the next one, then it might actually just be a Tarantino thing, and you can just ignore everything that I just threw out there.
And while we're here, I do want to say I think the wiggle your big toe bit is like the most justifiable one in his filmography.
Oh, by far.
There's an actual narrative purpose for it there.
That was one of those things where when I watched it as a kid, I took it to be fact. I was like, okay, if I'm ever waking up out of a coma, all I need to do is wiggle my big toe. Like, sometimes you see shit in movies and you're like, that's probably the tip. That's some real survivalist shit right there. That's how it actually is. I don't fucking know. I don't know if that's what you do when you wake up out of a coma and you gotta go kill people. Maybe.
Like, I've never had, like, full-on... go ahead.
Hey, Austin, would you like to find out?
Oh! Finally!
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I've never had full-on entropy, but, like, I did do some, meditating at a Buddhist, place once for a class, and, that was just, like, sitting cross-legged in front of a wall for 40 minutes. Most asleep my legs have ever been. And, I feel like I was just, like, once it was time to get up, it's just like, okay, stretch my legs a little bit, try and get some motion in there.
God, you know that way that, like, she cuts off Sophie's arm and then Sophie is like, ah! That's me when I wake up in the middle of the night after falling asleep on both my arms. That's the exact way I get. Also, in the Japanese version, one of the extended things, I made, like, a list of them, is in the end car scene with Sophie where she's got Sophie in a trunk. They just full-blown show her cutting off Sophie's other fucking arm. It's kind of metal.
Yep.
Jesus.
And also, Mob Boss Tanaka, what was that fucker's name?
Boss Tanaka.
Yeah, Tanaka.
Mob Boss Tanaka, when Young O-Ren is McMurdering him, she like runs her sword all the way up the dude, guts him like a fish. It's shown in the Japanese version. It's pretty stellar. I do say so myself.
Yeah, I do love the director's cut. Like, again, there's like a couple of like small things in the Crazy 88 fight, and like, okay, this is dragging the pacing a little bit, but like I like the carnage. I don't know.
You know that edit of the Matrix fight where Keanu keeps like fucking getting him in the neck? We do an edit of the Crazy 88 fight from the Japanese edition where when she's going around in the pinwheel, she just keeps cutting off feet. Like, she's just perpetually stuck cutting off a bunch of people's feet.
Now I'm just thinking of like I saw this meme the other day on Twitter. It's like I think an old meme, but it was just like an edit of Obi-Wan in the Darth Maul fight in Phantom Menace, just falling and jumping back up and just falling again over and over. I was high when I was watching that, and it was the funniest shit in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Sophie having both her arms cut off, like there's been talks about what if he makes Volume 3? Maybe that'll be his last movie. Who knows? And like, obviously the biggest potential plot for that would be to have it follow Nikki in her tale of revenge against Beatrix. And like, it could be interesting if she like encounters Sophie and Elle Driver, and it would be very funny if they just gave Sophie robot arms. I think that would be an interesting choice.
That sounds like giving Sophie robot arms sounds like the ideas that studios would throw out Like, they don't have the input of the original creator, and they're like, okay, well, she's still alive. Give her robot arms.
Just give her robot arms.
It just sounds like that studio bullshit that they would just, like, throw out because, oh, the original creator doesn't want to do it. Well, we're going to make the calls. You, put this in there.
Uma Thurman's gonna be fighting a giant spider. The question is whether it's a mechanical spider or not. Spider. Fucking... Yeah, that was the thing. Wild Wild West. Producer wanted a big spider. The Superman movie that Tim Burton was making. Spider.
The one that Kevin Smith was writing. It all comes back to Kevin Smith.
Big spiders are scary.
This is true.
Producers live in perpetual fear of spiders. They hate it every time a Spider-Man movie breaks $1 billion. They're just like, the public is sick. Let's give them more slop.
Speaking of Spider-Man, the actress that played BB, she was in Spider-Man 3.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who'd she play? Was she Peter's double when he does the dancing?
Yeah, there we go. I can't remember the name of the character, but
was it Sandman's daughter?
It might have been. Anyway.
The more you know.
She was in a Spooderman.
Fuck you, Spoderman.
Speaking of other like popular movies, ones that were actually from around this time. Have you guys heard Tarantino's spiel about The Matrix Reloaded?
No.
Yeah, so when this movie came out, he used The Matrix Reloaded to kind of prop up his own movie. Because he was just shit-talking the Agent Smith fight the whole time, where he's like, yeah, it's like, you have your real stuff here, and it is kind of cool, but then it becomes digital and blah, blah, blah. No, everything we're doing here is real, and that's why it's better, and that's why it's cool, damn it. And I mean, he's not wrong. But I do like that Smith fight.
The Outwaters just flexes on them all. Everything you see in that movie was shot on camera, not a single bit of color correction or special effects.
Oh man.
Still never actually seen that.
You don't want to. Dude, don't watch it when you're eating. Holy fucking shit.
Heard.
Oh. So the way he just hurts himself. My god. This is gonna bring it back full circle to a previous Bomb Squad thing. But the Japanese edition of the movie does not start out with the same exact title card that the opening one does with the Klingon proverb. It starts off with a dedication to Kenji Fukasaku, the director of Battles Without Honor and Humanity, which is the title of one of the songs from this movie. And Fukasaku died like 10 months before this movie came out, something like that. So it's like a dedication to the master filmmaker, Kenji Fukasaku, which I just saw that for like the first time studying for this, and my jaw dropped, because that was sort of the episode where we were like, gearing up to do some Tarantino eventually. And when that popped up, I did the hardest Leo point any of you have ever done.
Hell yeah.
Goddamn. Release it.
I think that's a good note to transition into final thoughts. We'll start with Austin. Final thoughts on Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2.
My god. If Tarantino didn't make Death Proof, the streak between Kill Bill Volume 1 and Django Unchained would be like Coppola levels of legendary. There's a little something for everybody here. A frenetic bloodbath and this tense, story-driven Western. Either way, it deserves its reception. We deserve to watch. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah. Joe, final thoughts.
Oh man, your Death Proof hate's hurting me, Austin. It's hurting me! Anyways, yeah, both Volume 1, both Volume 2. Very good movies. You've probably already seen this movie if you're watching this. This movie's very popular, but if you've never seen a Tarantino movie, if you've never seen Kill Bill, just in general, but you have seen a Tarantino movie, this movie's not a bad place to start if you want to get into all things Tarantino. So, yeah. Both movies good. Back to you, Tim.
Hell yeah. Final thoughts. Both these films are great. Go watch them, like Joe just said. Don't watch Volume 2 on Netflix. Maybe pick up the Blu-rays if you are able. Go ahead and seek out the director's cut of Volume 1. It's a little extra juice in there. All around good time. I'm glad that I watched these films when I was the perfect age for them. They sent me down a path, and I wouldn't be who I am today without their influence. So that's gonna do it for this episode of Bomb Squad Matinee, and thank you for tuning in. If you are listening on any of the audio platforms, please let us know how we're doing. Give us some communication. We appreciate any feedback or any notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Let us know. What do you think of Kill Bill? Do you like Volume 1 or Volume 2 better? Is this your favorite Uma Thurman movie? Whatever. Comment below, let us know. While you're down there, go ahead and hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And hit the bell icon to get notifications on when we upload new stuff. And we're gonna plug the Patreon. If you donate to our Patreon, we would really appreciate it. If you donate to our highest tier, we'll give you a shout out at the end of the episodes. Many thanks to our big fan, Jason Secord. Jason! Jason's been a fan of this show for a while. He's been leaving comments on our videos, and we always appreciate seeing what he has to say, seeing how he thinks our videos are. So thanks for watching, Jason. Thanks for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And if you want to be as cool as Jason is, just go to our Patreon and subscribe to our highest tier. And we'll give you that shout out. Thank you once again for tuning in. Before I get into the teaser for the next episode, I think a little transparency is in order, given that we've had like 4 unexpected hiatuses in the last year. Just truth is, we're busy. We're all adults who are working full time and doing this as a hobby, so a lot of times the schedule's probably gonna be a little irregular. So we thank you for your patience and for your continued support. That being said, we do have an episode for next week, and it's a special one. It's going to be the podcast hosting debut of Mr. Rain Conversey, as we talk about the latest film from Happy Feet director George Miller. We're talking Furiosa! It's gonna be a good time, so be sure to tune in. And once again, thank you for watching / listening to this episode. And remember, you're a terrific person, but every once in a while, you can be a real... See you next time!
Slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."